and trying to identify who this guy is. So we need to know what's going on with these two sketches to help.
All right, so on TV right now, on HNLN, right now, let me turn on my TV. HNLN has the Delphi case on right now.
And spit, people would urinate. I mean, because they don't have time to go back, so they go hide in the woods to go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff.
Joseph Scott Morgan, it was officially called off by authorities because it was just too dangerous, too dark. But the town stayed down there. In terms of collecting DNA evidence from the scene, what do you think after hearing that from Kim Riley, from the sergeant at the time?
Well, it can certainly complicate matters because, now you're commingling all of these other factors in there. Everybody that shows up at the scene. And keep in mind, Susan, this was a search at that point in time, where you're looking for these two.
Now, here's a question. Here's the thing. They were out there that night searching that whole area and found nothing. That's very mysterious, sir.
In a sample. So, my concern is that there might be some kind of cross-contamination. It may have been compromised. As we do know, DNA is very, very fragile, depending upon the form that it comes in, whether it is something that is, say, a DNA-rich sample where we're talking about blood or maybe semen or this sort of thing, or we're talking about something that's even more fragile, like a touch DNA sample, which is only a partial strand. A strong wind can blow it away. So that's certainly something to keep in mind.
Yeah, considering everyone down there looking for the girls. Casey, in investigating in those crucial first hours as an attorney, criminologist, what sticks out to you here?
I think that what worries me the most is that in those hours following the report of the girls missing, when everybody was trampling through the woods, possibly contaminating the crime scene, they did not bring dogs. They did not put out an APB. They did not put out an Amber Alert. And there was incredibly precious wasted where they really could have been doing the things that have been suggested, pinging off the cell towers, finding out everybody who'd been in that particular area, a remote area. And you really have to wonder if this case was simply bungled from the beginning, mostly due to inexperience. I mean, nobody really would intentionally mess up a case like this. But here we are, Susan, 5 years later. It's been 3 years since those two composite sketches, which really don't look anything alike, 35,000 tips, as Barbara has pointed out, and we don't feel any closer to having a suspect. And you just have to wonder, would it be useful at this point for them to release more of that video, 43 seconds, and we only have a small fraction of it, hoping to get a resurgence of interest in this case? Because if DNA...
There's another thing that is a discrepancy. They're saying that there's only 43 or 49 seconds of the video, and we're only seeing a little bit of that video. I was under the impression that there is 39 minutes of video, not 49 seconds. Minutes. There's like 20 or 30 something minutes on the video. But that could have been a lie, from social media or whatever. So, and they just showed people out there that night with flashlights all over. There was all kinds of people out there, and they didn't find nothing that's suspicious. They didn't have no dogs. That's suspicious. They should have had dogs out there. They would have found them right away. All they would have had to do was call grandma or grandpa, or the parents, get me some kind of article of clothing that smells like the girls, and the dogs would have found them if they were out there right away. The thermal imaging drone that they had out there, they said they would have seen them in the dark, even in the daylight, they would have seen them.
The victim's type is very dominant in the sample. So if they're saying that they have a DNA sample, it kind of tells me they either have a mixture or it's a very small amount. And then I wonder, well, what have they pursued? And I think a little bit of insight in Barbara's interview with Keegan Klein is he said, well, they collected hair from him. Well, in this day and age, to get a DNA sample from a suspect, it's an oral swab. If they're collecting a head hair standard or a pubic hair standard, that tells me they may have some hair evidence at the scene. And the question with hair is it from the offender? And chances are, if they haven't produced a DNA profile to search the database, then they're just dealing with a hair that doesn't have a root. But in this day and age, there is technology that can actually get a genealogy profile from just the hair strand itself. So that's where I'm wondering, what all have they pursued? What do they have? What have they pursued? There may be DNA evidence in this case that can actually identify the offender if the right people were to be consulted.
Interesting. That could be telling. And on that same,
Another thing I think is they got DNA, but it wasn't from the crime scene. I think it was from somewhere else. Probably from a house or maybe somewhere else. If they would have had DNA, they would have came out and said, we got a definite DNA match. We got a definite good DNA. And they haven't. So either it was mixed contact DNA or it was dog DNA. There might have been a dog out there, you know. But
these sketches that, you know, are kind of hit or miss at best. And I think probably for me,
you know what I think the sketches are? I think Delphi, I think the police know exactly who's involved in the Delphi case. I think the sketches are from another case that fit the MOs of these cases. Very well could be people, it could be a different case, and the police are using their head, they're tricking people, and they're saying, who are these two guys? Because they're actually looking for other people too that were involved in it. So that very well could be too.
one more point. Going back 5 years, Susan, I think this is critical. People knew that these kids would be out of school that day. That's why I've always held that I felt as though that somebody that had that knowledge was aware that this was a person, this was not necessarily an opportunistic event where they just happened to meet. It's something where someone was lying in wait and they knew that these kids were out of school. And I think that plays a big part in this.
Oh, and this is fair use, YouTube.
asking why
This ain't on YouTube. This is on TV.
home early. They were coming in from a different state. That was canceled. Here is Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. His response to,
Oh, look at this. They did have canines out
Could
there.
have potentially maybe had the canines continue, and there could have been other things that could have played a role in it.
Nah, that's it. It's all over with. The girls were placed there. If they were out there that night that the girls were missing with dogs, not find them girls. They weren't killed there. They weren't there. They were taken somewhere else. That's what I'm thinking now. This is getting interesting.
Very often suspects do, or culprits, inject themselves into the
Look at-
investigation. They kind
Look
of
at all the people
go
out
ahead
there.
with their thought process.
Look at the flashlights. Look at all the people out there walking around. That's actual footage of them walking in the woods looking for the girls.
Far more important at this juncture is that we look at their digital forensic footprint from their computers and their phones. And the interesting thing is that the police indicated that Kagan was corresponding online using that fake profile with Libby German, the last person to actually talk to her online. Were there other people? Let's say it's not Kagan. Apparently his DNA hasn't matched, or he would be under arrest by now, I'm sure. They really need to look at anybody else who may have been in touch with those girls through social media, on their phones. Teenagers have secret lives, they have private lives, and maybe even found out that they were going to go for that walk and met them there. Could be a complete stranger, could be somebody who actually was in touch with them before they took that hike.
still to come, looking forward and finding answers. What will tip the scale to an arrest? And what additional
Wow. That changes the whole thing. There was a canine unit out there that night. That changes a lot. Hey, Ricky Compton, how you doing? That changes a lot. That changes a lot. And the canines would have found her, no doubt about it. Even if they were cadaver dogs, they would have found them out there that day, probably right away too. Because they were giving off, if the girls were out there, they were giving off a scent. And not a hard scent to find, meaning they were buried underneath feet of dirt. They were right laying on top of the surface. So the dogs would have definitely found them, and they would have gave off a heat signature too from the thermal drone. So something's not right here. Something just ain't right. All right, I'm going to watch the rest of this, and then I'm going to take a shower. And I got some dishes to do. I just got done making some sloppy joes. Yeah. You folks be safe. If you go on H&L or HLN right now, the Delphi case is on there. And we just had the Delphi case on Channel 16 News last night. I want to thank Channel 16 News for covering it. That's a local news channel up here up north in Indiana. And thanks, HLN. It's on right now. On TV. So thanks for getting the word out. That's all they can really do. Try and keep it going, but it's a cold case, pretty much. Or heading that way. And be safe, folks. I'll be back later. I got to take a shower. Like I said, make sure you turn on HLN right now. The Delphi case is on there. Let me show you real quick.
Starting at 6, only on HLN. Forensic Files 2 returns February 27th at 10, only on HLN. Closed captioning brought to you by Sokolov Law. Call 800-919-2100 today.
Mesothelioma victims, call now. $30 billion in trust money has been set aside. You may be entitled to a portion of that money. Call 1-800-919-2100. That's 1-800-919-2100.
We have changed plans on what our future looks like. And we're learning how to do that every day. There's a lot of things that we're not going to have anymore. There isn't going to be a prom. There aren't going to be weddings. College. Those things that you just think you're going to be having.
That was Abby's mother there talking about her daughter. And Libby's grandmother once told me that their lives are frozen in many ways. The way they once lived ended on February 13th, 2017. They can't really move forward until the girl's killer is found. I want to go to Barbara. You're in Delphi, Barbara, in touch with investigators. What does this feel like there, the case? Do you believe it's still moving forward? They tell me that it is very active, that there are multiple officers and investigators who are working on this case every single day. Since they put this information out in December about the fake profile Anthony Shots, they've been getting a lot of new information. Those are all things they need to chase after, confirm, talk to people. So from what I understand, there is a lot of activity still around this case. They do not call it a cold case. They do say it's a very unique case, and they're working very hard to solve it.
Yeah, I did speak to Toby Leslie, who said no matter what, do not call it cold. Paul, you have seen the video, you heard the book.
Well, the reason people are calling it a cold case is because nothing has been done. There's been no new evidence released. It's been an ongoing case, and even the police said that it's close to being a cold case. You know, here's the thing, the girls were killed, and it took 2 to 3 years before the police put a video out of the killer. That's how long. The girls were killed in 2017. In 2019, they released the video, or 2020. Why did they wait that long to release the video? That don't make sense. That don't make sense. Why did they wait so long to release the evidence that they had? It screwed up the case, if you ask me. That's why they're asking for help. I think we're looking at a cover-up. Somewhere down the road here is a cover-up to this case. Why? Because I think once they found out that one of their boys in blue were involved, it had to be covered up. You know, that's just one of my theories. You know, I got many theories, but for one, they were way too young to even be on social media. 13 years old on social media, using Snapchat and Instagram and everything. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's way too young for kids to be on social media. But I'm nobody. You know, that's just my opinion. This was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm. Now, here in a couple days out here, it's going to be the same temperature as it was on February 13th, 2017. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet an article of clothing, or I'm going to wet a towel, and I'm going to set that towel outside between 3 o'clock. Let's say they were there at the bridge between 2:30 and 5 o'clock, they're saying, is when they came up missing. So here in a couple days, when we get this nice weather that's coming in, it's going to be the same temperature as it was that day. And I'm going to wet a towel, and I'm going to set that towel outside at 2 o'clock, or say 2:30. And then I'm going to check it the next morning to see if that towel is still wet. Because if them girls went through the river, then their clothes would still be wet the next morning. So we're going to see. We're going to see. And then I'm going to go outside once the sun starts going down in a couple days, when it's in the 40s, it's supposed to be 45 or almost 50 degrees. So, and then I'm going to go outside after the sun goes down to see if it's cold. You know, we don't even know if the photos that they show of the girls being on the bridge were taken from the exact same day as they came up missing. So, we don't know. But it is getting interesting. So make sure you check out HLN on TV. It's on right now on regular TV. The Delphi case. Yeah, I think there was something's wrong in this case. And I think a lot of people know that there's something wrong with this case. It ain't adding up. And I think it's just a matter of time before they figure out that there could have been possibly a cover up or something, or, you know, all these people out there the same day the girls came up missing with flashlights looking all over the place and found nothing. Dogs were out there, canine dogs were out there the same day, found nothing. But yet the next day they go back to look for the girls again and they find the girls. Yeah, I'd say something definitely wrong with this case. And there was more than one person involved in it, boys. Quit thinking and quit looking for one person. There was many, and I mean many, involved in this case. I think it was exactly what the feds and everybody was saying. It was a ring, a bunch of them, gang. But I'll let you guys be your own investigators and investigate. Excuse me, I just had some sloppy joes. So this video is fair use. And, you know, the sheriff of Delphi is saying maybe in 3 to 5 years this case will be solved. But, you know, it's already been 5 years. And I think some of the professionals that are coming in on this case are starting to question exactly really what information that has been released on this case, if it was actually the real stuff. You know, I'm starting to think something's up here. Something is definitely not making sense with this Delphi case. And it ain't me, I'll tell you that much. I think we know exactly what's going on. And I think the police were right. I think some high ballers were involved. Who knows? I told you, these people will do anything for money. They'll do anything for fame. They ain't got no morals. They ain't got no, I wouldn't doubt it if all this was created just to throw everybody off. I'm not taking anything off of the table. I'm thinking they might have got caught and they came up with this giant elaborate story. And it would make sense once they investigated and found out Anthony Schatz was a police officer in Alaska or whatever. I imagine that's when they said, we got to change this real fast. And that's what happened. And Anthony Schatz was up in Alaska. You know, he's still a suspect. I know the police are saying, well, he's not a suspect. He's a cop. You know, he's not a. I know he's still a suspect. And at that time, when this happened in 2017, he very well could have been a cop. But he also could have been the leader of an illegal activity of, let's just say, bad things. So, you guys have a great day or night. Be safe. I got to take a shower. I'll be back later. Like I said, they're all suspects. What you people actually seen was a cover up in the works. And I think some of the social media might have been in on it, meaning YouTubers. So, I'll be back later. Thank everybody for stopping in. Ricky Compton, Laney, or Lynn. I got to take a shower and I got to clean up this mess from all these sloppy Joes. But remember, in a crime case, don't take anything off of the table. Everybody is a suspect. Is Keegan Klein involved? Yes. Is Anthony Schatz involved? Yes. Is Greeno involved? Sean Harmon, Kurtz, Carr, all of them. They're all involved in it. Good God, they're even saying Gray Hughes was a suspect. They're calling other YouTubers. I was watching some lady a couple of weeks ago. What was her name? The only reason I was watching her is because I followed Greeno there. We were hot on Greeno. And he was on some other YouTube channel. True Crime Tragedy or True Tragedy or something like that. Or something like that. Some woman. And he was on that channel. And then the next day she made a video and she said people were calling her a child molester or some kind of a predator or something. It was unreal. She flipped out and was yelling and screaming. And she was telling Greeno to come visit her, to come and spend some time with her and visit her. And, you know, they might be helping Greeno on the run. We don't know. Some of these YouTube channels might be helping them run. A lot of people are saying they've been commenting on my videos. Greeno's been picked up. He's in jail. Yeah, they said that 2 months ago. He pulled that he was wanted and on the run and he got picked up or something. But if you noticed, a week later, he posted a video of him photo bombing a police officer while he was supposedly wanted. So I don't believe anything on YouTube. I got to go take a shower. My butt stinks. See you folks later tonight.